You're listening to the Night Demon Network. Go to nightdemon.net/subscriber to unlock more exclusive content.
Hello and welcome to the Night Demon Heavy Metal Podcast. I'm your host Nesbit, and in September, Jarvis Leatherby of Night Demon flew to Germany for an in-person interview with Rock Hard Magazine. So Rock Hard Magazine is the biggest German hard rock and metal magazine. It's published in a bunch of languages. It organized the Rock Hard Festival. It's a very well-known metal festival you probably heard of. So September 3rd of 2021, Jarvis does an interview for Rock Hard Magazine in Berlin, Germany, at the label offices of Century Media, Sony. The purpose of the interview was to catch up the fans on what's been happening with Night Demon and to discuss the future plans of the band. So since this magazine is in German and the interview will be in German, Rock Hard has given this podcast permission to air the unedited audio interview in English for the worldwide Night Demon fans, so they can get the same information that Rock Hard readers in Germany and Europe are going to get. The magazine is set to officially hit newsstands in Germany on November 24th, so we're getting an advanced sneak peek of this interview for all you Night Demon fans around the globe. This is Night Demon Rock Hard exclusive interview.
A few years ago, you explained in one interview, probably in more than one interview, about your 5-year plan, 10-year plan. What was it?
It was a 7-year plan. It was a 7-year plan, and that has come to an end because we started that in 2013, and it's strange enough, it ended right in when the pandemic started.
Did it?
Yeah.
Because my question would have been, it's null and void now because we had the pandemic. So
yeah, no, it was March 2013.
Okay.
March 2013 is when we had the plan, and March 2020 we came to it. So yeah, a lot had changed in 7 years for the better. We were doing things in year 5 that we were planning to do in year 7. For example, I mean, just some small things, or may seem small, but one-off shows where people would fly us to play one gig, I mean, this was something that we thought, hey, maybe after 7 years, we won't have to tour as much all the time to get to a certain place, because before, when we started touring Europe 2014, we would have 3 festivals, over the span of 7 weeks. And we would say, well, we're getting about €100 per the festival, and we can't afford to go home, right? So we have to stay in Europe for 7 weeks. What are we going to do? We have to tour, but it's funny, around that time, it was very hard for us to get gigs in Germany. For some reason, it was very hard. We rarely played unless we were playing a festival. We spent a lot of time. We were doing 2 weeks of gigs in Spain. Bands don't do this. We were going to very small towns all over Europe, and it paid off later because it was cool. Even if you're playing for 5 people, if they really love metal, those small towns they would tell their friends. And we started to see the same thing in America. When we would tour, we would have to play very small towns in between the big shows. And when the next times we would come back through town, there would be metal bands Like where there was never they didn't exist. Like now these people that saw us, they would start metal bands, and like there was just a scene happening, and so we were like, oh, this is cool. Like we're starting scenes in other places. You know?
So why was it a problem in Germany? I mean,
it's very strange. I think that we had just put out the EP on High Roller, and not a lot of promoters knew about us. We had no booker. We just didn't know anybody. We didn't know anybody in the scene. We had a friend from Belgium who toured who took bands on tour, but he was from like the garage rock scene. So he knew no metal people. So we would play in these garage rock clubs, and we would play Portugal, Spain, Italy, all these places, and the metalheads would just kind of hear about the show, you know, and hear about it that way. But it was very hard to get German shows for some reason. And now it's like, I wouldn't tour anywhere else. Now it's like, because it's strange with the pandemic, I don't know how it's going to work. In Europe, you're in a new country every day almost, and getting tested in time and all these things. I don't know how that works. So if I had to tour just Germany, we could do it, you know? So.
Yeah. I mean, with the Steamhammer, first of all, and now with Central Media, it's a different backing as well, you know. So even if you don't have a new album, then what label are you on? On Central Media, we know them.
Right.
So
right.
It's going to be not that difficult anymore in the future anyway. Once touring starts again for good, you know.
Right.
Right. So the plan has ended, and have you achieved everything which was in the plan?
No. But we achieved a lot more that wasn't in there, strangely enough. And like any plans, you're going to make revisions. It's funny, though, the other day I was looking back at the original one, you know?
I wanted to do that, you know, but to be honest, I was too lazy, you know, because I didn't know which interview it was, probably Dead Forever.
No, it's fine, yeah, but I really...
that was my original plan. I thought, no, that's not good, you know.
but yeah, it was... it's always good to have a plan. I think a lot of people don't. Especially, you know, we like to work 12 to 14 months in advance all the time. So it's like we have all of next year the touring is booked, right? Now, this has been a problem for us in the past where we get a really good offer to go tour with somebody and we can't do it. But if you have no plans, you sit around. I've seen bands do this. They sit around and wait for something to happen, and a lot of time can go by sometimes without somebody coming to your door. So you have to kind of make your own plans. Sure. And we are a band that always honors our commitments. And it's been very tough to turn some things down. But some of the bands that I've managed, I've put them on tours where they've had to. We've turned things down. I've made them honor their commitment, and then you have the headliner cancel the tour because they got a better offer. It's the worst feeling ever, you know. And you don't want to be. I don't want to put anybody else into that situation because I've been in that situation. Does that make sense? Like, it's life is so short, man. People do forget about things as time goes on, but it's best to keep your word. It's very good. Like, your relationships with people are very important, you know. So
is there going to be a new plan now?
Yes, there is a new plan. There is a new plan. And we had to do a lot of thinking.
But it's not a 7-year plan again, no.
No, it's a 5-year plan. It's a 5-year plan.
And what's at the end of the 5-year plan? World domination.
Yeah, I can't, I've never disclosed these things. It's pretty private. Not anything bad, but I will say that there's more albums involved, and there's scheduling for that. And then there's some touring plans. And there's one thing in there that I'll just say is very, very ambitious. It's my number one goal there. I'm not going to say what it is because we haven't pulled it off yet, but we're working very hard on this. Mm-hmm. And it's not an album, I'll just say that, or a tour.
It's not a tour, okay, right.
It's not an album or a tour.
Okay.
It's something else.
Okay. Are you discussing this plan within the band?
Yeah. Yes, all the time. Yeah, we communicate with each other all the time about this stuff, and we look at our timelines, because we have to block time out. Time passes so fast; it's a crazy thing,
Yeah.
So it's cool to be able to look back on it and say, well, this is what I did with my time, and here's what we plan on doing. Especially now that we're separated, our drummer Dusty, he moved to the East Coast, so he's coming back the day I return to the States, the 23rd of September, and we have 6 weeks together as a band where we just do the band. It's very nice to be focused and have time to do that. Instead of when you're together all the time, it's like, hey, you want to jam today? No. Yeah.
Right. You did 5 singles in a row, right? And it might appear to people on the outside that this was like a COVID-19 plan B, but it wasn't. You had this plan before COVID.
This was the end of the 7-year plan.
Yeah.
So we had.
So did people get that, or did people think, okay, they will be keeping the new album for after COVID?
Yeah,
did people think that?
I think they did think that because but here's the thing: most of the public doesn't know, and they shouldn't need to know this. But the industry side of things, we were putting out a vinyl single every 5 weeks. With no announcement or anything. It's like, here it comes, bam, it's available now, okay? Our idea was, we had this plan 18 months ahead of time. Because we said, okay, we've got these different songs. They're very different from each other, but they're special songs. I see cover art for each of them. They're on an album, they're a little schizophrenic. It's not as cohesive, right? And I think they're good as singles. I think the world is headed towards that way with the digital listening. But we're an old school band, so we'll keep the tradition. Because a lot of people don't know this. Singles are actually an old thing. The LP came after singles, Singles, it used to be singles, right? Yeah. The LP was made to compile singles. So
the picture sleeve came after the actual
right,
single.
Exactly. So we did it old school too. And we had the B-sides, all these cover songs we did, they were exclusive to the vinyl. You can only get them on the vinyl, right? And we thought that was cool. So we're mixing the old with the new, and what's old is new. And they performed very well. And my whole thinking going into it was like, I was thinking, people these days, they have such instant gratification all the time. It's like, I want something and I want it now. And I'm going to press that button and I'm going to get it now,
Yeah.
And I thought, well, we have to play into this in some form, in some way, So let's do this with this singles. Let's not tell anybody about it. Let's not have a pre-order. Like you're in a pre-order on everything now. It's like, and there's good reason for pre-order because you know what to produce. But when you're making 1,000 singles, I'm not worried about selling them for a band like us. So it was great. It was like then, because we never even discussed it, but you could see the fans talking online. And after the second one came out, they're like, okay, this second single on this new album is great. Then the third one, and they're like, okay. They're like, what's happening? Is this happening? And then it was like, we never even said, here's the last one. We just stopped, but that, yeah, it was great. It was the perfect, I think, I believe in magic. I believe in real magic. I really do. And I think that having that 7-year plan was the best thing we ever did. And right when it ended, our new plan started and the pandemic hit at just the right time for us. I mean, a lot of bad things happened. We canceled all of our touring, but it's unbelievable. April 3rd was our first single release of 2020. It was the perfect time. And the production was done because we had it planned, So we just kept rolling along with that. And then the week before
So you knew more than all of us.
I think we were just prepared for it, unknowingly. But that's what I'm saying. That's why it's good to have a plan. And then we launched our podcast 1 week before the final single. And that's been running every week now for 59 weeks. So we've been active, We've been putting content out there. And I hate to use that word, content, but that is what it is. And that was it, yeah. So the start of the new plan has changed because of the pandemic, but we've been productive.
So what the label probably said, no, you must be mad. because you changed labels, you know,
Yeah.
and then you probably had to communicate your plan.
Right.
And Century Media probably said, no, you must be mad.
Yes.
We won't do this.
Yes, that's pretty much what happened. Yeah, that's pretty much what happened. But a lot of things had changed at the label. You know, a lot of moving around. You know, with the personnel wise, and so a lot of the people that were working with us were no longer here, which was sad. But the ones that stayed moved up the chain, and they've seen us from the beginning, and so they know there was a lot of trust in us, and it proved well. I mean, the singles sold out each day they went on sale. There was no problem, you know.
I mean, the people, Central Media in Germany.
Yes, right, in Germany,
because they moved to Berlin, and not everybody moved. Some states where they were, you know.
Right, but even in the States, like the main people handling stuff for us were either quit or let go, you know. So a lot had changed. But we were fortunate enough that the people in Germany that stuck around had been with us even when we were on SPV. They had been around, you know, because we were still signed to Century Media in the States the whole time. So they already knew, hey, this band's eventually coming to us. You know, so it was good. But we had some good years at SPV and with Ollie and Mirko, and like it was great. You know, like it was exactly what a band like us needed, and to come to Europe and be like, from the days of being on High Roller and you know, being in Europe for 7 weeks with no gigs, to putting out a record on SPV and hitting the charts and things going well, and you know, it was a great way for us to get in, you know.
Well, was it the first single, Empire's Fall?
Yes.
Was it the first one?
Yeah.
Yeah, on top of this plan, which the label probably didn't like, Empire's Fall was, did I get that right? Was what about the fall of the record industry?
Yeah, and it was actually, I wrote it about Century Media.
Okay.
Yeah, when this whole Sony buyout thing happened. I mean, here we are sitting in this beautiful Sony facility talking, right? But you know, there was just a lot of bullshit, in my opinion. And it's not what I signed to an independent record label for a reason. That was very important to me, you know. It was very important to me, and I wanted to do business with the people that I signed with, you know, and that all changed. You know?
So was this kind of a direct reaction to that, or no?
Yes, this was a direct this song was this song was like a big fu to Sony and Century Media, like directly, and they knew it, and I told them, you know. But they're like,
what did they say?
I mean, you know, whoever was left, right? It's like they couldn't argue. You know what I'm saying? Because they had already been through it, right? Yeah. So looking back, you know, because things are always much more clear, right? So I'm very grateful. You know, I'm grateful to be here and be part of this, and I'm happy that things, you know, it's not the fucking, like, the world hunger, you know? It's like, it's not the biggest problem in the world to be on a major label, essentially, right? But there are just certain things, you know, I'm a businessman as much as I'm a musician. I manage some great bands. I have my own record label. So it's like, I'm an idea man. I have ideas, and I like to go out and take risks and execute these ideas. And that's not always the case with big business. Big business is doing so much to cover their ass. Even getting in the building today, you know. Like, I had to take a COVID test, which I get, but like I needed Wi-Fi, and I asked for Wi-Fi at the front desk, and they said, "What's your email address?" And I said, I gave it to them, and then I waited 10 minutes, and I said, "Where's the Wi-Fi?" And they go, "Oh, check your email." And I said, I need Wi-Fi to check my email. And it was a whole thing. It took 30 minutes, right? And this is just the corporate world. It's just not for guys like me, you know? Yeah. Or, again, like, I'm lucky the thing with the singles worked, because as a whole, the major label is like, no, we're not going to, or they're like, yes, we will do this, but no vinyl, no way. No 7-inch singles. And I'm like, listen, they will sell, I promise you. And they sold out the first every time, you know. They could have made more. So they trusted me, and it worked. But I just see, I now I'm a little more careful, I'm a little more patient, and if I don't get everything I want, hey, that's the way it goes, you know. I can only do what I do now, and I'm not concerned as much anymore about these things. You know?
Right, Empire's Fall. I did have a look at the lyrics, just like a short answer. What's the reason for that the empire has fallen? The actual reason.
Empires fall. So like.
I mean, the downfall of the record industry.
Right.
Why? What was
the downfall?
What was the principal problem?
It was the gatekeepers. The principal problem is from the top. You always got to look at the top down. It's from the record executives. Okay, it's because the writing has been on the wall for decades about where the industry is headed. So you have, instead of adapting, people they hold on to traditions and try and force the rest of the world to do what they want.
So when do we start? Like which year?
2000.
All right.
99.
I would probably much earlier.
99. But you would say that. But the height.
When was
the height of CDs,
when was like Napster?
Napster was like 98, maybe 97. But the height of CD sales is probably 2002. You know what I'm saying? Mm. And with the CD around then, you got labels that pay. It costs 50 cents to make a CD, and you're selling it for 18 euro, okay? Mm-hmm. Like, the labels are making an ungodly amount of money, okay? An insane amount of money. But there's this technology that's rising, okay? And instead of joining them and saying, that Napster guy, give him a job, right?
You couldn't have avoided that in any case.
No, but you're not supposed to avoid anything in life. You're not supposed to avoid anything.
But that's what I wanted to do. That's what Lars wanted to do, you know?
Well, but he was right. He was right. He was exactly correct.
He was right, but he didn't kill downloading.
No, he didn't. But not one person can kill.
From his point of view,
but
from the band, he was right.
Yeah, but not one person can kill an evolution of humankind.
That's what I'm saying.
No.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, but and nobody needed to kill it. That's not the answer. The record industry needed to participate. They needed to go to Napster and give him a job and say, hey, you know what I'm saying? This is what's coming. How do we make this profitable for the artist? How do we make this cool for the end user? But that's not what happened. And so the fact that they kept trying to turn it away for so long, it was too late. It was too late. And now they have to deal with the hand that's dealt to them.
You were like a little spider there?
Oh, shit. Get it. Oh, thanks.
Thank you.
Jesus. But they have to deal with, now they have no choice. Now the labels have to deal with it. And so now what happens?
So they were not quick enough.
No. I mean, but they had plenty of time.
Sure.
But they were just, everybody.
They should have seen it coming, you know?
They did see it coming, but they turned a blind eye and tried to say, well, we have the money and we have the power and we're the influencers, so we are going to make sure that we're going to, hold this industry down. You can't take every kid to court, so it's been the problem with the movie industry, with every big industry. You've got people that there's so much money involved. They're not there for the art. They're there for the finances, and they're there because musicians are cool and movie stars are cool, and that's why you always have rich people from the private sector always wanting to invest because they want to be cool, right? But it was too late for the record industry, and so everybody's running out of it like it's a burning building right now. Everybody. The only people still around are guys like us. This is our life. This is what we do. So whatever, we'll figure it out. And not complain too much, right? But the realization is, most people listen to music on their phones. They listen on companies like Apple, Spotify, YouTube. So what we have to realize in the music industry is that these companies, they're not music companies. They're tech companies. So we can't expect them to have the same interests as us at all. They don't care about that stuff. They care about technology. They care about stuff like that. Music is just Music is just the vehicle they use for technology. We see it differently. We're opposite. The record executives should see music as music and bring the tech companies along for the ride, versus it's the other way around right now. They're being completely controlled by tech.
And what they also did, I mean, I'm totally agreeing with you. And what they also did, like when you like Napster, and when you had like downloading before Spotify, before streaming, they killed the physical product. They killed vinyl, CD killed vinyl, and they shouldn't have done that. I mean, vinyl is now back, and big companies are producing like a very expensive box set.
Right.
They could have done that back then.
They could have, yeah. And they should have.
They deliberately killed vinyl when they wanted to push the CD.
Right.
Why that?
Right. Well, I think it was a profit thing too. I mean, CDs made so much money. They made more money than anything. They were the cheapest to produce. They had quicker turnaround. They were a smaller footprint, and you sell them for fucking insane amount of money.
Like 10 years after, everybody realized, well, CD is not sexy, and people started to buy vinyl again, even if it was second-hand vinyl, and nobody in the industry reacted to that trend.
Right. Right. It took a long time.
Yeah.
And now,
too long.
And now, there's not enough vinyl plants in the world to produce the demand. Yeah. And if I was I don't know. In this Sony building, there should be a vinyl pressing plant.
Yeah. And for me, this is also like an aspect of Empire's fall.
Yeah, right. It's the whole thing. It's like you get too big for yourself sometimes, and you think that you have control when you don't. We all need to evolve with the world and just go, hey, we can hold on to our traditions for sure. You can hold on to your traditions. You can still make vinyl. You can still make CDs. You can still make cassette. There's somebody that likes them, but the majority of people are not listening to music that way. So we need to make sure that we deliver it in all formats, and protect the artists from this and protect your business.
Because streaming is like devaluing like the actual music, the actual art.
Absolutely.
But then again, like Deep Purple, they are still playing, or Iron Maiden, they're playing, like when they're playing Berlin, it's like 25,000 people going there.
Right.
So there's a demand for it.
There's a demand, yeah.
It's not the streaming public,
Right,
and like the ticket is probably like 90 or 100 euros.
Right.
So you can make money. You can make money with box sets, with physical product.
You can, but the record industry traditionally was great for driving the touring, and they used to drive the touring industry. When Night Demon got signed to record labels, they had no influence in the touring industry at all. SPV couldn't even get us a booking agent in Germany. They couldn't do it. They tried. They tried to get us on shows, festivals. Did not happen. I'm not blaming them. They tried, but that's
still
not
SPV times.
Yes.
High roller times would have been logical.
No, of course, but even still, it's just it's tough. It's like they don't have the influence that they once did, and they used to put a lot of money into touring. Concerts used to be $5 or $10, and they were paid for by the record company. And then you would but that's because albums were selling. It was easy. It was like a record company's best way to sell an album was to put a band on tour. That's the best way. And you just go, here's Van Halen. You're going to play for $5 in an arena, and it's going to sell out, and everybody's going to go buy that record.
And make sure that there's going to be like vinyl in the stores when you do that.
Yeah. But they would. And you can make vinyl. You can make 1 million records in 3 weeks back then,
Yeah, but you need to get it into the shops as well.
Right. But you had distributors, and there were shops on every corner, So it's just a different world. That's all it is, It's not bad. It's not bad. It's only bad because it's been mismanaged. That's all. That's the only problem,
Right. So let's come back to the pandemic. Actually, you're managing bands as well. I always ask myself the question: how active were bands like, for example, Satan and Jaguar during COVID? Didn't do anything,
nothing,
right?
Yeah.
Nothing.
Satan made an attempt at recording an album. They're halfway done with it, but the engineer had a heart attack, and he had to get bypass surgery, and then he got COVID. It was a whole thing. It got pretty bad for those guys, but like they're hanging in there. Jaguar, nothing. I mean, like the band's pretty much.
They have never been the most active.
No,
anyway.
and they're pretty much inactive anyway. Gary lives in Brazil now, and the other two guys are still in Bristol. So and I'm just a part-time like live guy, Yeah.
Right. We all know about the Cyrus Angle. They were pretty active.
Yeah.
Vivi goes as well, right?
Not so much. Right. Not so much. Yeah, those guys haven't done much in a while, But
right. And you also you did this. You're still doing this podcast, right?
Yeah.
When
it's
did you
amazing.
get the idea for that? That was not in the plan.
No. So there was another podcast about Iron Maiden out of Canada called Talking Maiden, and they had me as a guest on the show a few times to talk about Iron Maiden, and they went for 156 episodes, I think, and then one of the guys wanted to quit, and so they said, well, I'm not going to do it without this other guy. So I started talking to one of the guys, the main guy from that podcast, and I said, hey, I'm interested in doing a podcast because I meet so many great people in metal, and it was just kind of like where I'd interview another guy in metal. And I said, would you want to be the producer of the show? And he said, no, but I would really like to do a Night Demon podcast. And I was like, what? I'm like, just about Night Demon only. And he said, yes. And I said, how many episodes do you want to do? And he said, I want to do it every week indefinitely. And I said, about one band. And he said, yeah. And I said, I mean, come on, how many things could we have to talk about for an hour a week, right? And he says, I think there's a lot to what you guys do as a band that's more interesting than most bands. And I said, okay. So he came up with a bunch of ideas, and he had like 200 episode ideas, and I was like, wow, okay. And he says, the one thing about what I have with you guys that I didn't have with Iron Maiden is I have access to everything. So I can interview you guys at any time I want. If I need to hear isolated tracks and break down a song, I can get that from you. If I need bonus material, artwork, videos, archives, bootlegs, you have them, right? If I need permission to do something, I can ask you, So it's great. It's run like a very journalistic style. It's not a live podcast. It's not us sitting around talking ever. It's got a host and a topic, and he asks us questions. Everybody that surrounds the band, agents, managers, publicists, everybody, roadies, fans, and the cool thing is that the band members, we never talk to each other ahead of time about it, ever. We never have. We get our own questions separately, we record our own commentary, and then we listen to it every week, and our stories line up. Like, they're accurate, they're the same. So it's a great history of the band, and when we start touring again, we're going to start doing some documenting the tours this way. So for the hardcore fan, it's been pretty cool. A lot of people still don't know about podcasting, and they don't know. Some people, it's just not their thing. They just don't listen to it. But for the people that love it, I mean, they really like it. So.
Yeah, I did listen to one or two, and it's very in-depth, I must say.
Yeah, it's very in-depth, yeah. It's very in-depth. But like I said, the fans love it. They're getting the real inside story about things. And it's starting to get more candid. I'm starting to talk about a lot more personal things on there that I didn't want to talk about, but as years have gone by, it's kind of good to talk. I think people get a lot of help when they hear me talk about struggles with drugs and stuff like that. Like, it's good for people to hear that sometimes. I think a lot other people that are going through stuff like that, they kind of feel like, or death of somebody, they kind of feel like, okay, well, this guy that I really like in this band has been through the same thing, So it's been good. It's been really, really good for us.
You mentioned Mick Wall. You had Mick Wall as well for that. Was another podcast?
No.
Did I get that wrong?
Oh no, I was saying
about this Dio book.
I was saying I listened to the Mick Wall podcast, and he talked about it. He's
got like his own podcast.
It's pretty bad.
Okay, like that's his own podcast.
Yeah, it's his own podcast. He's just it's not structured, so he's all over the place. It's not bad. He's got some interesting stories on there.
Okay.
So,
okay. Right. when you played Hamburg, when was that? 2019?
2019 was the
Right.
last time we played Hamburg. Yeah.
I wasn't there, but you played this unannounced. You played this short Misfits cover set, right?
Yeah.
Which is a real cool thing because people don't do that normally.
Right,
and,
right.
Which this showed me like the passion. Your passion for music, you know?
Yeah.
And it was a real cool thing,
Yeah.
I don't even know if people did cherish that enough, because for me that was like great
what?
thing,
You know what I noticed? The Misfits didn't transfer over to Germany as much as like Danzig did. In the States, if you play a Misfits song, the whole place breaks out in a mosh pit. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
If you play Danzig here, people understand it way more. But the Misfits never got very popular here in the metal scene, at least. I think people know the Metallica covers, but they never really dug deep into the Misfits. And the Misfits never came here to play. They never came here to play, and that's a big thing. If they were to come here and tour back in the day, it might have helped.
So people didn't actually get that, right?
No. They were like. I think people understood it, but it's a different reaction. It's a different reaction when you play it in the States. The whole place erupts and everybody's singing the whoa 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 part, right? And all that shit.
Yeah.
But we played Blood and Tears, the Danzig song, and people really knew that song.
It was like a cool thing anyway.
Yeah.
So very spontaneous as well. So when did you decide to do that?
Well, so we run a festival every year in Hamburg. It's our festival. We do it at the Markthalle. It's called Heavy Hamburg Halloween. And what we're trying to do is bring the Halloween culture to Germany, because it's not really celebrated here. And we're trying to get people to like dress up in costumes and have fun and have this kind of theme. And so we've committed to doing that every year. And we had been booked for Metal Hammer Paradise, which is very close to Hamburg, so they had a radius restriction on us, right? So we weren't allowed to play our own festival. So I booked Ross the Boss, Satan, Bullet, Portrait, and it was a great night. And what we did is we put out the video so this is actually in 2018 that we did this. Because in 2019 we did Knust for Heavy Hamburg Halloween. But we said we advertised it, we made a music video for the song Black Widow, and we were gonna premiere it in Hamburg at Heavy Hamburg Halloween. And so we brought this big screen and we premiered the video there, but none of the audience knew that the band was even at the festival at all. They didn't know we were even there. So after the video was over, to start the show, we come out dressed as the Misfits and play this full Misfits set, and they're like, wow, like super surprised. So that was very cool, and that was the idea. That's how we pulled it off. So we had planned it for sure. Yeah.
Great. Right. So there's gonna be a studio album in November 22.
Right. And
It's still a long time to go. But
yeah, we have something for everybody before that though. March 25th, we're releasing Year of the Demon, the 2020 singles compilation. So all those singles plus the B-sides that were only on the 7 inches prior are all going to be released on a full length. And we've got 4 bonus tracks of some older songs that we re-recorded too. So we've got that coming out March 25th, and then the new record will happen in November. And the thing is, the new record is pretty much there, but we want to make sure, because we haven't been together as a band in 1 year physically. So like we're gonna really hammer home this fall and write the rest of that new record and record it and get some touring back in us, and then have that thing come out, But releasing music during the pandemic, we did it when it started. It's not a tradition we wanted to continue. We're the kind of band that needs to tour when we release music. We have to be on the road. We have to, you know.
I forget to ask about the most obscure cover version of the cover versions on the B-sides of the singles was probably Fast Bikes by Cliff.
Yeah, and that's,
probably nobody knew that song.
Nobody, man. Like, a couple people we saw, said, oh my God, but, it's kind of like when Metallica started, like they would play new wave of British heavy metal songs and they wouldn't tell the audience, like, this is a cover song. They'd be like, you know, and the people would love him and go like, oh man, that song, The Prince, was great. Like, you know, or like, oh man, Let It Loose. That's what I love that song. That's a great Metallica song, you know? And so we're kind of the same way, you know? It's like let's put Fast Bikes on there. Let's give LaGriff some credit. Funny enough, too, is like, I tried to track those guys down because I'm like, hey, like, we want to give you some money for this or something, you know? And then, of course, the talk of, you know, because we run a festival, like, hey, you guys want to reunite? And, you know, because those 2 EPs they have, I mean, fucking amazing, you know? Like, I mean, what? They have like 8 songs as a band, I think, and they're fucking great. And so we just love that. A little bit of trivia on this song. And when you listen to it, at the end, we have a sample of a motorcycle going, whoa. And we stole that from Saxon. We actually took it off the record. Man. We took it off the record and put it on there. So
I wouldn't tell Biff. He would probably sue you.
Good luck. Try. Well, actually, shit. Sony put it out. He probably would. Yeah.
Just joking. Yeah. Very obscure choice there. What did people say online? Did they probably checked?
But see, here's the thing: is like that stuff. It was never. It was never on Spotify. It was never on CD or cassette. It was so it's like so many people never even heard it, you know. It's like we did like on Facebook, we did like a live stream of the vinyl, you know. We're like, here, we're gonna play it once, you know. And be like, fuck, you know, like we're taking the video down. But no, in March 25th next year, people will be able to have all of these on a collection, which is, I think it's meant to be, you know. Yeah.
Okay, and we haven't talked about your label in depth. Iron Grip Records, that's the label, right? Yeah.
So it's the same name as
when did you start with the label?
Well, so I started my management company in 2015, and it's the same company. I just now, the thing is it got to a point where every single band that I manage has at least one record that they own the master rights to. Okay? And for years, you know, we were doing these handshake deals with these bedroom labels where, you know, hey, it's great. It's great that there's High Roller Records and No Remorse and Shadow Kingdom. It's great that there's labels like that out there. They're fucking awesome. Small, independent, heavy metal labels, they really care about the packaging. But for a band like Sirathungal or Satan or even Night Demon, our first EP we still own, or Visigoth owns their first 2 EPs, you know, to put out a record with a label like that where they give you 50 free copies and then they sell 1,000, you know, it's like I'm running a pretty legitimate management company. I've got a distribution deal already with The Orchard. Like, there's no reason why we can't make these on our own, you know? And so that's what it's for. The goal of the label was strictly, well, when I started it, was strictly just to release back catalog of masters that we owned and not license it to anybody because we just didn't need to, right? There's no real push happening. There's nothing a label can do for you on catalog. It's been out there. People want it. Collectors want it. Maybe new fans will want the back catalog. You can produce that for them and be profitable in a pandemic, and the artists make more money, right?
And you found kind of a niche because you're doing like tapes a lot, right?
Totally, man. And so many, but that's where I got into licensing and reissues. Like even today, I released a tape today, a double tape, Armored Saint, Symbol of Salvation. So I have the original tape and the demo tape. They're both in one box. It's very cool. But the label doesn't, you know, Metal Blade doesn't really want to do tapes, so they license all this stuff to me. It's great, you know, and people like tapes, you know. Yeah. So I love tapes. They're like they're living, breathing, mechanical things, and no two sound alike.
And Brian is very, very easy with that, you know.
Yeah, and
because we license some books from him, you know, and he gets his money, he gets his royalty statement once a year, and he's fine with that.
But no two tapes sound alike, you know. Like I'll tell you. Funny story, 2 years ago, I had this Exodus Bonded by Blood tape from when I was a kid, and I had written on the tape, you know, and I go, you know, I want to listen to this. And so I put it in my tape player, and I listened for like about 30 seconds, and it ate the tape. It was so old, it just fucking broke. And so I went to Spotify, and I go, okay, well, at least I know I can still listen to the album. And I turned that off after 30 seconds. I go, this is not the same. My tape, it sounded a certain way. It fucked up in certain spots that I'm used to, you know? It's everybody, if you own a cassette, you own your own version of that record that nobody else has.
It's very individual.
Yeah.
Yes, yeah.
Just like pops in it, cracks in a vinyl. You know, you own it, or where your CD skips in the same spot all the time. You know, it's like, yeah, you know, but it's your own. It's magic. You know, it's your own thing.
Yeah.
So I, you know, and I've got some new releases coming out with Iron Grip. I'm doing the next record for this band, Haunt.
So what was the best seller tape-wise? I mean, I like the Orange album on tape.
That's so far as the biggest seller. That's so far as the biggest seller. But that's kind of a new release, so I can't really count that towards catalog, right? Even though it's old, I mean, it really hasn't been circulated. But that one does good. The Nasty Savage reissue did good.
Really?
Yeah.
Because I think High Roller did that on vinyl.
They did it on vinyl.
It.
They did it. Yeah. They've been really good. Stefan at High Roller's been very good.
But he knew that before.
Yeah.
He said, it's a great album. I'll put it out. Nobody will buy it. I'll put it out anyway.
But he's doing great. You know, the label's doing great. But yeah, he's helped me out with a lot of artwork and stuff on his reissues because I do the tape versions basically. And he's like, cool. You know, and it's great because, you know, he's already paid for it. So, yeah, he's a very cool guy, man. I'm really grateful for what he did for us, you know.
So that's the interview. Some cool info in there. March 25th, Year of the Demon, and a new album not long after that. And some info on some new Iron Grip releases. Night Demon subscribers can view the whole interview from Rock Hard Magazine in the subscribers section. Another thing Jarvis mentioned was the Misfits cover set that Night Demon did. Don't forget the full audio and pro shot video of that whole Misfits set in the bonus area under episode 14. And that's just one example of the ton of bonus content in the subscriber section. Until next week, this is Nesbitt signing off.
It all starts coming back. Images from the past. Oh no, you can change. Your heart is beating fast. Not longer will you last. There's life for the road.
Thanks for listening to the Night Demon Heavy Metal Podcast. Head over to nightdemon.net, click on the subscriber tab, and sign up to access exclusive weekly bonus content. If you would like to donate to support the Night Demon Heavy Metal Podcast, you can do so through PayPal at paypal.me/nightdemonmetal. Additionally, if you have not already done so, please subscribe, like, rate, and review the show on iTunes or wherever you listen to podcasts.
All hail, Night Demon Heavy Metal Podcast listeners. This is Dusty Squires chiming in to tell you about my brand new signature sticks from the London Drumstick Company. I've dreamt of having my very own drumsticks ever since I was a wee lad, and LDC made that a possibility for me. Founded in 2016 in London, England, the birthplace of heavy metal, the London Drumstick Company has trailblazed a path through the music industry and taken the drummer world by storm. When I met them for the first time, they knew their product was going to withstand the beatings of a Night Demon show. They took the time to work with me on getting everything just right. The balance and weight of my sticks are the same no matter what, and the durability is bar none the best I've ever had. I know my sticks will last through the set night after night. I'm truly honored to work with a company that caters to their players the way LDC does. Their innovation and attention to detail is what separates them from the rest of the stick makers out there. Their custom stick sleeves are unbelievable and really make the entire presentation complete. Wait until you see the design they came up with for me. It blew my mind and was a surprise to say the least. They have all kinds of amazing swag, including hoodies, t-shirts, drummer shorts, drum keys, stick bags, towels, face masks, practice pads, and much, much more. Even if you're not a drummer, you can be a part of Demon history and order my brand new signature sticks direct from their website. How cool is that? And to top it off, the London Drumstick Company are giving an exclusive offer to the Night Demon Heavy Metal Podcast listeners. Go to londondrumsticks.co.uk and receive a 15% store-wide discount using promo code DEMONSTICKS. All capital letters, no spaces, Demon Sticks. DEMONSTICKS. I can't thank everyone there enough for the opportunity to be a part of their family and for them trusting me with their amazing products. See you metal maniacs on the road very soon. And yes, the wood chips will be flying.
Greetings, boils and ghouls. This is your comrade, the Crypt Keeper here, reporting dead from the sanctuary of the strange. Tonight's macabre myth is a fright-filled feature, one overflowing with monsters, madness, and magic.
Visit our website at monstersmadnessandmagic.com to stay up to date on all the dark dealings within the sanctuary of the strange. Enjoy the show.
Hey Metalheads, I'm Mark and I host the Metal Forge. Let me tell you about the show. The Metal Forge features the best underground metal from all over the world. We spend every week with a different artist with interviews, in-depth conversations, and most of all, the music. We also feature audience interactivity where you can submit your questions to the upcoming guests. New episodes are out every Friday at noon Eastern Time at metalforgeradio.com or wherever you listen to your podcasts.
Want to know what's going on in the world of music? Then tune in to the Nothing Shocking Podcast, a non-genre based, all-ages friendly rock and roll program. Join us weekly for interviews with all your favorite rock stars from the mainstream to the underground. You can find us at nothingshocking.libsyn.com or anywhere you download podcasts.
Okay, metalheads, you've been complaining that there has not been a channel that plays all of the heavy metal videos from past, present, and future for years and years at this point. Well, that time is over. Heavy Metal Television is back. HeavyMetalTelevision.net is the website. Go there. You can see videos playing 24/7, 365, all the time, all the best from the old school, the new school, and everything in between. Check it out, HeavyMetalTelevision.net. It is where the metal is.